It's Channel 93.3. We are back in the Channel 93.3 Jeep Garage with Rise Against. And I know it's a long story, so I don't want to try and do the whole thing. But, like, if Zach, you could tell us, like, about this epic story. I was listening to a podcast called Turned Out a Punk with Damian Abram from a band that we'll call, for the moment, Effed Up. And anyway, and he got you to tell the story. And then, like, you're on another episode of the same podcast, got you to tell more of the story. Like, and this story kind of, it's epic. And he said he wanted to make it into a movie because the story is so good. Like,
we'll see if he doesn't.
Yeah, we will, but but can you tell us about the story? It's like
Cliff Note version is essentially, I grew up in a really terrible, awful town in Texas, and a very large kid at one point got moved there because he had gotten into some gang activity in Miami, Florida. And we met him. And by the way, don't adjust your radio if you're listening to this. My voice actually sounds this way right now. I think somebody kicked me in my coccyx.
Guilty.
Yeah. Anyway, real quick. So chance encounter meeting. He ended up beating up a bunch of people for us because we were not the most popular kids. We'll put it that way. And he was like our bodyguard. And didn't see him forever. Didn't see the guy forever. Cut to the 90s. I ran into him at a place in Dallas. He actually lived in Florida at the time. At the time, I played in a band called Guar. And I was like, man, we're going to be in Florida next week. Come to the show. The guy goes to the show. Macho Man Randy Savage is at the show. There's almost a kerfuffle with certain people at the show. I can't go into all that. That's too long. My buddy meets him at the show. That Macho Man gets him into wrestling, professional wrestling at that point. He goes on and becomes the wrestler MVP.
Yep.
Who is WWFE something.
I think it's
sure.
now, right? Yeah.
And I had, unbeknownst to me, have no idea. The guy became a monster, just, wrestler guy.
Yeah.
And I joined Rise Against, and our lives are kind of, and then Damian Abrahams, he is a punk rock and wrestling aficionado. So he cracks this code that he was talking to Hassan, who that's his name, and that guy had figured out what I had done. I had not figured out what he had done. And Damian put it together and was like, you guys have to meet. And so he made a podcast of us re-meeting each other. It's a crazy, amazing story. But I mean, there's a lot. That's completely the Cliff Notes. But the stuff in between
the
of it,
color around it is great too. It's like every part of this story creates a great scene.
It's
you
nuts,
know,
man.
And
he actually really did fight for us. I mean, honest to God, we became buddies. We had punk and metal shirts on and stuff. He's like, yo, you like those bands? And we were like, you like these bands? And he's like, yeah, I love Suicidal Tendencies. I love DRI. And so then we had this huge kid walking around with us everywhere. And we were just kind of like, what do you want to say now?
That's awesome. That's so great, man. I love it. And it's like, and there's redeeming qualities to it. It's like all the stuff that normally people would have to inject into the writing of a story is already there.
It's a cool story. Then you inject the Macho Man or Randy Savage.
A scene with the Macho Man like spilling his guts to you. It's like, what?
Which actually did happen.
That's just so crazy. All right, well, I am going to be waiting, and I'm going to I happen to know Damian's manager, so I'm going to just
go for it.
I'm going to email him every day and say like, get this.
It's the new Stand By Me. That's what he feels like. He's like, it's Stand By Me. It's the new Stand By Me.
Oh my God, it's going to be a great movie. And one day. One day. All right, what's the next song you guys want to play?
So we're going to do an acoustic version of our song "Prayer of the Refugee."
Prayer of the Refugee in the Channel 93.3 Jeep Garage. Rise Against.